Picking up where we left off in the last tutorial, we are on page 290 in the book, and we're going to work with hyphenation and justification. Now remember that we had turned off hyphenation, and so that was applying to the entire paragraph formatting. We can apply hyphenation to particular paragraphs. We also want to clear up something that's called widows and orphans. Now if you took graphic design and you remember your fonts, when we looked at typefaces, anything having to do with type is very much associated with people. So if you recall, we have items like shoulders and feet and legs and arms, and we have text that stands alone is called a widow, which is a short line at the end of a paragraph that stands by itself. We also have orphans, not in this document, but remember an orphan is a word that is by itself that stands at like the top of a column of text. So we are going to make a correction. So with our type tool, we're going to put an insertion point below Studio Tours in that first paragraph and go into your paragraph options, and we're going to select hyphenation. So there we've added a hyphenation into the word progress. Now if you go into your options and select hyphenation, and I'll go ahead and turn that on, we have the ability to create different changes. So words that are longer than so many letters. If there's we can limit how many hyphens we have. We can have that it's allowed to hyphenate capitalized words or not. So there's a lot of things that we can apply to that. So go ahead and say OK to those standards that are already there in the presets. Next we want to go to the the outside fold in panel. So let me get over there. And we're going to put an insertion point in that first paragraph, and we want to justify all lines for the paragraph alignment. So justify all lines. So now we're going to go in and pick up justification and activate the preview, because we want to change our minimum word spacing from 80% down to 70%, which is going to tighten up all of the text. We're getting that extra little line that was considered a widow to pop up by bringing our word spacing a little bit tighter together. You can then apply those changes, and this is probably a really good place to save again. Now we're going to tackle that list that we have on the inside of our brochure that lists all the dates and the places. If you remember, you could see that there were tabs placed in there. We want to select our entire list, at least parts of it. Make sure that you have everything from the top to the bottom, some point of those selected, and we want to go to Window, Type, and select the tabs. In the tabs panel, and you can move this around, in fact you can actually pop that to the columns. Well, I don't want mine free floating though. I want to bring this in and try and line it up a little bit better with my text. And what it's trying to do is go to that first text box, which is in the chain. But I'm going to take mine and drag mine over and try to keep it over here so you can kind of see what I'm doing with it. We want to select a right justified tab stop, which means everything's going to line up at the right side of our column. And I'm going to insert a tab stop and drag it almost to the margin. Can't be exactly at the margin because that would force it down to the next line. But you can see, because there was a tab already applied to all of those items in the list, and I want to put in a dotted leader, which is that little dotted line that you get in between the spacing. So I'm going to put in a period and a space. Now I'm going to go back in. I'm going to first of all reselect an area, so I'm just going to click off. I want to select everything in the list except for the last item. I want to select everything except for the last city at the bottom, because I want to change my space after. So if I go into my paragraph panel, I want to tighten that list up, so I'm going to change the space after to 3 points to keep all of that grouped together a little bit more. Let me click off a little bit there so I don't have the highlights on all of that. Now, something else that you may have noticed is that we have a misspelling in here. We're going to do a spell check right now. So click off to the side, deselect everything, and go up to Edit, Check Spelling. I already have auto spell check coming up on mine, which is giving me the little squiggly red line underneath the misspelled words. But if I select check spelling, and although I already have the auto spell check running, which is why I'm getting the little red lines underneath the letters, this is how we can go through and check the whole document fairly quickly. So first of all, you will notice that it highlights the words that are misspelled, and if we don't have a selection in the suggestions, we can make our own corrections. In this case, it is not supposed to be explore it he, it is supposed to be explore the. So I'm going to correct that mistake in this dialog box and say change. Height is acceptable. I'm going to ignore that. And I'm just going to go through all of these. And names of places. Artistic is spelled incorrectly. I'm going to change that text. Ignore the next. Sutter, that's expectable, acceptable. Go through and check everything to see. We don't know about the names of places. Oh, here, Mission Street. Let's correct Mission Street to actually say street, and accept the change. Ignore that one, and everything is completed now, so we can say done and look at the changes that have been made. That tightens some things up and makes everything, yes, that cleans up that Yerba Bueno Center. So we have our spelling corrected. At this point, we would like to save our document. We can turn all of our graphics back on. So let me close my tabs up and go back into my layers panel and turn my graphics layer back on. Take a look at what we've finished. Make sure that everything looks correct. We have all of our items placed. Click off. Make sure that everything looks good. Yes. We're going to ignore those places that we have to assume that they were spelled correctly because they're cities and proper names. And then we're going to talk about packaging this to be sent to a printing company. We're going to go up to File, and we're going to select Package. So let me save. Even though I just saved, I need to save it again. and then I should get a dialog box up. Takes a little bit to get everything packaged together. So now within our folder, we're going to get an AOS brochure folder. Copy links, relink linked files to the document, copy all of our fonts, and create a report. And we're going to click Package. There's going to be a warning about copying fonts because fonts are copyrighted, but we have a license agreement so we can use those fonts. It's just a warning that we are running into copyright issues, and we are going to say OK to that. In the dialog box that pops up, select Show Package so that we can take a look and see. There is your folder. Here's your WIP folder that you were saving in. This is the folder that was created, and you can see inside that there is going to be a copy of the file, all of those files that we had linked and we did not embed, and there are the fonts that we used. This way you would send that package right there. That file folder was the one that you would send to the printer for them to create the document.